The alien mining camp was a place where hope came to die. The air was thick with dust and the smell of burned fuel. Huge machines roared day and night, cutting into the black mountains to dig for energy crystals. Among hundreds of slaves from different planets, one human worked silently. His name was Ethan Hale, a pilot from Earth who had crashed on this cruel world 6 months ago. Every day he carried heavy crystal boxes under the hot twin suns. His body was covered in scars and dirt, but his eyes still held a fire. The guards hated that fire. They wanted broken slaves, not men with courage. But Ethan never begged, never cried. One afternoon, a guard pushed a small alien child to the ground for moving too slowly. Ethan saw it happen and couldn't stay quiet. He stepped forward, grabbed the guard's wrist, and said, "He's just a child." "Don't." The guard's face twisted in rage. "You dare touch me, human?" He shouted and hit Ethan with an electric rod. The shock threw Ethan to the ground. Pain burned through his body, but he still looked up, defiant. The guard raised the rod again, ready to strike harder. Then a soft but firm voice broke the noise. "That's enough." Everyone froze. A hover car had stopped near the edge of the camp. The door opened and a tall alien woman stepped out. Her skin shimmered faintly silver under the sun. Her long dark hair flowed like silk and her glowing blue eyes were calm yet powerful. She wore an elegant dark suit made of a material no human had ever seen. The guards lowered their weapons immediately. Whispers spread among the workers. "It's Lady Serenia, the widow of the High Commander." Serenia walked closer, her boots leaving light marks in the dust. She looked at Ethan lying on the ground. For a moment, the world went silent. "Who gave you permission to punish this one?" she asked the guard. The guard bowed deeply. "My lady, he disobeyed orders. He interfered with—" "Enough," she said again, colder this time. Her eyes stayed on Ethan. "What is his name?" The guard stammered, Ethan, human male, property of Zone 3. "Not anymore," Serenia said softly. The guard blinked. "My lady?" She looked directly at him. "Transfer his ownership to my name immediately." The other guards stared, shocked. No one spoke. No one in the Empire bought humans for anything other than labor, and no noble, especially not the widow of a high commander, ever took one into their home. Ethan slowly pushed himself up, confused. Why would you do that?" he asked weakly. Serenia turned her gaze to him. "Because no one deserves to be treated like that. Not even you." Her voice was calm but carried something deeper, something Ethan couldn't read. The guard hesitated. "But my lady, this is against protocol. The council—" "I said transfer him," she interrupted sharply. Her blue eyes flared brighter for a moment and the guard stepped back in fear. "Or shall I report your behavior to the Varen Command?" That ended the argument. Within minutes, they brought the electronic slave collar scanner. The guard deactivated the device around Ethan's neck and entered her code. The collar unlocked with a soft click and fell to the ground. Ethan rubbed his neck. For the first time in months, he felt air touch his skin without metal around it. "Get up," Serenia said gently. "You're free now." He stared at her, unsure. "Free?" he repeated. "You mean, you bought me to set me free?" She tilted her head slightly. "I bought you to save your life. What happens next depends on you." Two soldiers lifted him up carefully and brought him to her hover car. As he sat down, weak and dazed, he looked back at the camp. The other slaves watched silently. A few of them smiled faintly. As the car rose into the air, Ethan asked, "Who are you really?" Serenia looked out the window at the fading camp. Her expression softened just a little. "Someone who once believed peace was possible," she said quietly. Ethan wanted to ask more, but his strength was fading. His vision blurred as the hover car moved through the glowing sky toward a distant city, filled with silver towers. Before darkness took him, he saw Serenia look at him again, her eyes almost sad, as if she saw something familiar in him. When Ethan woke, he was no longer in chains. He was lying on a soft bed in a quiet alien room. The sound of wind brushed against a curtain made of light. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't afraid. But one question burned in his mind. Why did the stunning alien widow save a human slave? He didn't know that the answer to that question would change both their worlds forever. Ethan woke up to the sound of soft music and the scent of something sweet in the air. The ceiling above him shimmered like morning light passing through water. For a moment he thought he was dreaming. He tried to sit up, but his body ached all over. A warm voice spoke from nearby. "You shouldn't move too fast," the voice said. Ethan turned his head. Standing near the doorway was the alien woman who had saved him. the one they called Lady Serenia. She looked even more striking now. Her silver skin caught the light like liquid metal, and her long dark hair rested over a gown made of thin glowing threads. She wasn't wearing armor or command clothes now. She looked calm, but powerful in a quiet way. "Where am I?" Ethan asked carefully. "In my home," Serenia said. "You are safe here." Ethan looked around. The room was large, filled with strange art and tall windows that opened to a garden of blue trees. The air was clean. It didn't smell like smoke or metal. For the first time in months, his lungs didn't hurt. He tried to stand, but nearly fell. Serenia stepped forward quickly and caught his arm before he hit the ground. Her touch was cool but gentle. "You humans," she said softly, "always try to run before you can walk." Ethan managed a weak smile. "We're not very good at staying still." Serenia tilted her head slightly, studying him like a puzzle. "That much is clear." She helped him sit on the edge of the bed. "You were unconscious for 3 days. The medics wanted to put you in stasis, but I refused." "Why?" he asked. "Why save me at all?" For a long time she said nothing. She just looked out the window. Finally she spoke. "Because I saw something in you I thought no longer existed in this galaxy. Defiance, compassion, and hope." Ethan frowned. "You risked your name and power for that?" Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "You think too little of small things, human. Sometimes the smallest flame saves the darkest world." There was silence between them, broken only by the soft hum of alien birds outside. Later, a small drone floated in and placed a tray beside Ethan, fruit-like things glowing faintly and a cup of golden liquid. He hesitated but took a sip. The drink was warm, sweet, and strange, like honey mixed with starlight. "It's called Solon," Serenia explained. "Your kind cannot handle most of our food, but this will heal you." Ethan nodded slowly. "It's good. Thank you." He noticed something then, a shelf across the room filled with Earth relics, a broken guitar, a printed book, even a cracked coffee mug with the faded words New York on it. His eyes widened. "You collect Earth things?" he asked, surprised. Serenia turned toward the shelf. For the first time, her face softened. "My husband did. He admired your people, said humans built beauty out of chaos." Ethan's voice lowered. "He's gone?" She nodded quietly. "A war took him, along with our son." Ethan looked down, guilt washing over him. "I'm sorry." Serenia's tone stayed calm, but her eyes shimmered faintly. "Don't be. I've learned not to mourn what cannot return." She looked at him again. "But I do miss the music, the laughter, the life humans once shared with us before everything burned." Ethan slowly reached for the small guitar on the shelf. It was cracked, missing strings, but he ran his fingers along it anyway. The sound was faint but still there, a tiny note, fragile yet alive. Serenia listened quietly. For a moment her breath caught. "I haven't heard that sound in years," she whispered. Ethan smiled faintly. "It's just an old sound from home." "No," she said softly. "It's a sound from peace." That night, while Serenia stood on her balcony, she watched the stars. Her heart felt strange. The human had brought something unexpected into her quiet home, something she had buried long ago. Feeling. In the dark garden below, glowing plants swayed like blue fireflies. Ethan sat near a fountain, touching pieces of scrap metal he had found near the repair bay. His human hands moved quickly, shaping something small, a tiny bird made of junk. Serenia stepped closer, curious. "What are you making?" He held it up. "A little earth bird. They used to fly in the morning light." She looked at it carefully. "It's beautiful." "It's nothing," he said. "To me," she replied quietly. "It is everything." Ethan looked up, meeting her eyes. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence was heavy with something neither understood. As the moonlight glowed against her silver skin, Serenia whispered, "You should rest now, human." He nodded. "Thank you, Lady Serenia." As she turned to leave, she paused at the door. "You may call me Serenia," she said softly. When she was gone, Ethan looked at the small metal bird in his hand. It gleamed faintly in the light. For the first time since his capture, he smiled. He didn't know what fate had brought him to this alien widow's house, but something deep inside told him that his life, and hers, was about to change forever. The next morning, light from twin suns spilled into the room through glass walls. Ethan sat near the wide window, his arm bandaged, his eyes scanning the alien city beyond. Floating cars glided past silver towers. The air was peaceful, but inside him, questions burned. He had been a slave only days ago. Now he was in the home of a powerful alien widow. Why? What did she truly want from him? The sound of soft footsteps came from behind. Lady Serenia entered, holding a small container made of glass and gold. "You are awake early," she said gently. "Couldn't sleep," Ethan replied. "Too quiet." Serenia smiled faintly. "Most humans say my home feels like a temple. Perhaps it is too silent for your kind." Ethan looked at her closely. Her expression was calm but lonely, like a star that had burned too long. "What's in the box?" he asked. She opened it. Inside was a small broken object, something that looked like a music box, old and rusted. "This was my husband's favorite thing," she said softly. "He bought it from an Earth merchant before the war, but it stopped working long ago." Ethan's eyes widened. "That's a Terran Wind music box, may I?" She nodded. He took it carefully, turning the gears and removing the rusted cover. "Your husband had good taste," he said with a small grin. "We used to give these as gifts to people we loved." Serenia sat across from him, her hands folded. "Love," she repeated quietly. "Your people speak that word so easily." Ethan looked up at her. "And your people don't?" She hesitated. "We used to, before the wars turned feelings into weakness." For a moment there was silence. Ethan bent over the box again, cleaning dust from its gears. He worked with gentle focus, his human hands steady. Serenia watched with quiet interest, fascinated by the way he moved, by the care he gave to something others would throw away. Minutes passed. Then with a faint click, the box came to life. A soft melody filled the air, simple, warm, and full of Earth's emotion. It was a tune about peace and home, something every child on Earth once knew. Serenia froze. Her eyes shimmered as if caught between memory and pain. "I remember this sound," she whispered. "My husband used to play it before he left for battle." Ethan watched her face. "It's called Lullaby of the Blue Planet. It's one of our oldest songs. Mothers used to sing it to their children before sleep." Serenia turned away slightly, her voice trembling just enough to betray feeling. "I have not cried in years, human. Not even when the council told me my family was gone." She touched the box and the melody continued softly. "This sound? It makes me feel alive again." Ethan smiled gently. "Maybe because it reminds you of what's worth living for." When the song ended, Serenia stood slowly. "You have given me something precious today," she said. "A gift of Earth." "It wasn't much," Ethan said quietly. "Just a broken box." She looked at him deeply. "No. You repaired something far greater." Later that day, Serenia invited him to walk through her gardens. The air shimmered with light from floating lanterns. Strange flowers glowed under their own energy. Ethan saw beauty everywhere, but his attention stayed on her. "Your people build beauty with machines," he said softly. "But you don't enjoy it." Serenia sighed. "We lost the reason for joy long ago. Everything became about survival, power, and control." Ethan bent down, picking a fallen petal. "On Earth, we used to say that the smallest flower can survive in the harshest place. You just have to look for it." She turned to him, her eyes curious. "You truly believe that?" He nodded. "I have to. Otherwise, I'd never have survived that camp." For a long time, they stood in silence, surrounded by glowing light. Serenia looked at him, not as a slave, not as an outsider, but as something else. Something she couldn't name yet. That night, while Ethan rested, Serenia stood by her window and watched him sleep. The music box sat beside his bed, still faintly humming. She reached out, touched it gently, and whispered to herself, "Maybe humanity is not so different after all." Far beyond the city, the alien nobles whispered about her. "The widow has gone mad," they said. "She shelters a human." But Serenia no longer cared. For the first time since her husband's death, she felt her heart beating again, and in that quiet house, filled with the soft echoes of an Earth melody, an impossible bond began to grow, between two souls from different worlds, tied together by a song older than war. A week had passed since Ethan fixed the music box. The melody still echoed through the halls sometimes, like a heartbeat of Earth trapped in an alien mansion. Ethan was stronger now. His wounds had healed, and he had begun helping around the house, repairing small machines, tending the garden, even teaching Serenia's house drones to speak bits of human words. But whispers had started spreading through the city. The nobles were talking. "The widow shelters a human. She has lost her mind. She dares to break the order. Serenia knew the gossip reached the council, but she pretended not to care. Still, her calm eyes often hid a shadow of worry. One morning, she appeared at Ethan's room wearing a long cloak of white silk and said, "Get ready. We're going out." Ethan looked surprised. "Out? Where?" "To the market," she replied simply. He blinked. "You mean the alien market? Won't that be dangerous?" A faint smile touched her lips. "Only if we let it be." Within an hour, they rode through the city on her hover car. The streets were alive with color and sound. Merchants shouting, drones carrying goods, and alien citizens watching the car glide past. Ethan stared through the glass at everything. The architecture, the glowing signs, even the air smelled of spice and ozone. When they arrived, Serenia stepped out first. Her presence made the crowd part instantly. She was known, respected, and feared. Ethan followed a step behind, feeling every stare land on him like a blade. Whispers began almost immediately. "Is that a human? With her?" Disgusting. Ethan's jaw tightened, but Serenia walked calmly as if she didn't hear them. They passed stalls filled with strange fruits, floating fabrics, and metallic pets that shimmered like glass. At one stall, a merchant with yellow eyes bowed to Serenia. "Ah, Lady Serenia, an honor as always. May I interest you in rare fabrics from the desert moons?" She shook her head. "Not today. We're here for tools." The merchant's gaze shifted to Ethan. His eyes narrowed, his tone dripping with mockery. "And this is your servant?" Before Serenia could answer, Ethan said quietly, "No, I'm just helping." The merchant laughed harshly. "Helping? Humans barely understand which side of a hammer to hold. You people are—" He stopped when Serenia's hand lifted. Her calm voice cut through the market like a blade. "Finish that sentence carefully." The merchant hesitated, glancing around. The crowd had gone silent. Serenia stepped closer, her voice dropping lower. "He stands beside me because I allow it. And you will show respect or I will make sure you never trade again in this city." Her blue eyes glowed faintly, and even Ethan felt the chill in her tone. The merchant lowered his head quickly. "Forgive me, my lady, I meant no offense." "Good," she said simply, and walked away. Ethan followed, stunned. "You didn't have to do that," he whispered. Serenia looked straight ahead. "No one insults what belongs to my protection." He frowned. "You mean me?" She glanced at him. "Yes, human. You." For a moment, he didn't know what to say. They continued through the market, but the tension hung in the air. When they reached the central square, Serenia stopped at a small shop filled with mechanical parts. Ethan's eyes lit up. Tiny engines, metal gears, Earth-like components. "Pick what you need," Serenia said. Ethan hesitated. "For what?" "You repaired something precious to me. Now I want you to create something of your own." His face softened. "Thank you." He walked through the aisles, choosing pieces carefully. As he bent to grab a small gear, he noticed a group of alien soldiers at the far end of the square. Their armor was marked with the crest of the Varan Council. One of them was staring directly at him. Ethan's heart pounded. "Serenia," he whispered. "We're being watched." She didn't even turn her head. "Let them watch. They want a reaction." The soldiers whispered among themselves, their eyes full of contempt. One finally stepped forward and said loudly, "Lady Serenia, we didn't know the council allowed humans to walk freely now. Shall we remind him of his place?" The crowd grew quiet again. Serenia turned slowly. Her expression didn't change, but her voice turned sharp. "You will do nothing," she said, "because this human is under my protection. Touch him and you answer to me." The soldier sneered. "Are you truly defending a lesser creature?" Ethan stepped forward before she could reply. "Careful," he said, his voice low but firm. "Lesser creatures built the machines your world now uses. Maybe show some respect." The soldier froze. The crowd gasped. Serenia looked at Ethan, a faint spark of pride in her eyes. She took a step closer to him, standing by his side. "You heard the human," she said softly. "Respect works both ways. No one dared move." The soldiers finally backed off, muttering. When they left the market, Ethan sat silently in the hover car. Serenia looked out the window, her reflection calm but thoughtful. "Why risk your reputation for me?" he finally asked. She turned her eyes to him. "Because you reminded them what courage looks like," she said. "And because I am tired of living in a world that fears it." Outside, the twin suns dipped low, painting the sky gold. For the first time, Ethan saw her not as a rescuer, not as a noble, but as a woman standing against her own kind for something she believed in. He didn't know it yet, but that day in the market would mark the moment their bond became unbreakable. And dangerous. The alien night was never truly dark. Faint blue lights glowed across Serenya's mansion, powered by crystals buried beneath the walls. The air was calm, silent, almost peaceful, but that peace was about to break. Ethan stood on the balcony staring at the stars. He had grown used to the strange skies, 2 moons, countless ships gliding like fireflies between them. Behind him, the music box played softly again, the same earth melody that had healed Serenya's heart. But tonight felt different. The air was too still. Even the garden drones had stopped humming. He turned when the door slid open. Serena stepped out wearing a long robe the color of the night sky. Her silver skin shimmered faintly under the moonlight. "You can't sleep either," she said. Ethan shook his head. "Feels quiet. Too quiet." Serena nodded slowly. "The city has been tense. Word of the market incident reached the council. They don't like being challenged," he frowned. "You mean they're angry because you defended me?" She looked out toward the horizon. Not angry. Afraid. The idea that a human could stand beside one of us without chains threatens everything they built. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Then let them be afraid." A small smile touched her lips. Spoken like a human. The moment felt almost peaceful again until a sudden flicker in the air caught Serenya's eye. The mansion's defense grid flashed red for an instant. Her smile vanished. "Get inside," she ordered quietly. Ethan hesitated. "What is it?" "Now," she snapped. Before he could move, the glass behind them shattered. 3 armored figures dropped from above, their eyes glowing through dark helmets. They moved fast, mercenaries, not soldiers. Silent, efficient, and deadly. Serena grabbed Ethan's arm and pulled him behind a pillar as an energy bolt burned through the air. "They've come for you," she said, firing back with a small wrist blaster that appeared from her sleeve. "Me?" Ethan shouted. "Why me?" "Because protecting you insults their power," she said coldly. "They want to end the rumor that a human could ever matter." Ethan's mind raced. "How many?" 4. "No, 5, Serena said, eyes narrowing as more figures appeared in the garden below. One mercenary climbed the balcony railing, energy blade in hand. Ethan grabbed a metal pole from a broken railing and swung hard. The blade hit his pole with a flash of light, sparks flying. The alien sneered, pushing him back with strength far beyond human. Serena fired again, hitting the attacker square in the chest. The alien fell over the edge. "Stay behind me," she said. Ethan ignored her, rolling across the floor to grab the attacker's fallen weapon. It felt heavy in his hands, humming with strange power. Another mercenary leaped onto the balcony and Ethan fired. The energy bolt hit the wall, missing by inches, but it was enough to make the attacker pause. Serena shot the second mercenary cleanly. "Good aim," she said, recharging her weapon. "Beginner's luck," he muttered. But before they could breathe, the door to the hall exploded inward. 2 more mercenaries entered, one carrying a heavy plasma rifle. Ethan ducked as the blast scorched the ceiling. "Down," Serena shouted. She activated a defense barrier from her wrist pad. A shimmering field appeared in front of them, catching the next blast. "They're inside the mansion." "More will come." Ethan looked around desperately. "Is there a way out?" She shook her head. "They've blocked the exits. We stand or we die." He grinned, wild and fearless. "Then we stand." Serena gave him a quick look, half disbelief, half admiration. "Humans," she muttered, always turning death into defiance. The next minutes were chaos. Blaster fire filled the room, glass shattered, furniture exploded into shards. Ethan fought beside her, ducking, dodging, firing whenever he could. Despite the fear, he moved with sharp instinct, his pilot's reflexes guiding him. Finally, Serena hit the last mercenary with a precision shot that sent him crashing into the wall. Smoke filled the air, the smell of burning circuits and blood mixing with ozone. When silence returned, both were breathing hard, covered in dust and light burns. Ethan leaned against the broken wall. You saved me again." Serena turned to him, her expression unreadable. "No, Ethan, we saved each other." He looked at her, really looked at her, the alien widow who had risked her name, her home, and now her life for him. "They won't stop, will they?" he said softly. She shook her head. Not until they destroy what they fear. He took a deep breath. Then they'll have to go through both of us. For a moment, neither spoke. The soft wind carried the scent of smoke and stars. Serenia stepped closer, her voice lower, gentler. You're a strange creature, human. You face danger and still find a way to smile. Ethan looked at her, eyes steady. Maybe it's because you gave me something worth fighting for. Her expression softened. And what is that? He hesitated, then said quietly, You. The words hung in the air. Serenia didn't answer, but she didn't turn away either. Outside, the first light of dawn began to rise, painting the sky gold and silver. The mansion was scarred and smoking, but alive. So were they. For the first time, Serenia realized that the line between protector and companion had vanished. What bound them now was not duty, but something far more dangerous. The news of the attack spread through the capital like wildfire. The mansion still smoldered when the council guards arrived, their black ships hovering like vultures over Serenia's estate. Within hours, messages from the High Council began to flood her communicator, summons, warnings, and accusations. Serenia knew this day would come. She just didn't expect it so soon. Ethan stood by the shattered window watching the soldiers outside. They're not here to help, are they? He asked quietly. Serenia fastened a silver clasp on her robe. No, they're here to silence a story that makes them uncomfortable. He turned to her. You mean? Her eyes met his, calm but firm. Yes, Ethan, you and me. The door chimed. 2 armored guards entered. Lady Serenia of House Varon, one announced, his tone cold and official. You are ordered to appear before the High Council at once for violation of Imperial Code 9-2, harboring and protecting a lower species life form without authorization. Ethan stepped forward. Lower species? He said sharply. Serenia raised a hand to stop him. Understood, she told the guards. We'll attend. We? The guard asked, her gaze sharpened. He comes with me. If you have a problem with that, inform the council that I refuse their summons. The guards hesitated, then nodded stiffly. Very well. You have 1 hour. When they left, Ethan exhaled. You're really taking me there? Serenia nodded. If they judge me for saving you, they should look into your eyes while they do it. The council chamber was carved from white stone, its ceiling a dome of light that seemed to stretch into infinity. 12 figures sat in high seats, their robes glittering with authority. At the center stood Serenia and Ethan. The silence was heavy. Lady Serenia, the head counselor began, his voice echoing across the chamber. You stand accused of treason against the laws of the Empire. You have broken species boundaries and brought shame to your noble house. Serenia bowed slightly. I broke no law that protects life. I saved one. Murmurs spread among the counselors. The head counselor's eyes flicked to Ethan. And the human? Does it speak for itself? Ethan swallowed hard, but his voice was steady. I do. My name is Ethan Hale. I was taken as a slave after my ship crashed. Lady Serenia freed me. A low laugh echoed from another seat. Freed? You misunderstand. Your kind cannot be free in this system. You are property, nothing more. Ethan's fists clenched. Maybe to you, he said. But not to her. The head counselor leaned forward. Do you know why humans are enslaved here, creature? Because they lack discipline, emotion, purpose. Ethan looked him in the eye. Then maybe that's why you fear us, because we feel what you've forgotten. A ripple of whispers ran through the chamber. Serenia turned her head slightly, a faint, proud smile touching her lips. Enough, another counselor said sharply. Lady Serenia, this is unacceptable behavior. You've let emotion cloud your judgment. You risk destabilizing the peace between our races. Peace? Serenia's voice rose, calm but sharp. You call chains and fear peace? You call obedience order? The head counselor slammed his staff. You forget your place. She stepped forward, unafraid. No, counselor. I remember it too well. I was a commander once, your commander. I fought your wars. I buried your dead. And for what? To sit in silence while you call compassion a crime? The chamber fell silent. Even the guards shifted uncomfortably. Ethan looked at her. Proud, furious, radiant in defiance. The head counselor's tone dropped cold. You leave us no choice, Lady Serenia. You will surrender your title, your estate, and your privileges. The human will be taken for processing. Ethan stepped forward instantly. Processing? You mean execution? Serenia moved faster than anyone expected. She raised her hand and a small orb hidden in her sleeve activated. A hologram flickered in midair. It showed thousands of alien soldiers, standing beside human engineers, rebuilding the Empire's ships after the war. "This," she said loudly, "is the truth you erase. Without humans, your fleets would have fallen. Without their ideas, our empire would have died." Gasps spread through the chamber. Ethan took a deep breath. "You called us emotion-driven. You called us weak. But maybe that's what makes us strong. Because we care. We fight for others even when it hurts." The head counselor stood. Enough of this heresy. But something shifted. A few counselors whispered among themselves, their faces uncertain. Serenia had planted a seed of doubt. The head counselor finally spoke again, his voice trembling with restrained anger. "Your actions disgrace the order. For your defiance, Lady Serenia, you are hereby exiled from the capital. Effective immediately." Serenia bowed her head slightly. "Then exile me. But know this, every empire built on cruelty will one day fall." She turned to Ethan. "Let's go." Guards moved to block their path, but the head counselor waved them away. "Let them leave," he said bitterly. "They will not survive long beyond our walls." Outside the chamber, Ethan and Serenia walked in silence. The city light stretched before them, cold and distant. "So, we're exiles now," Ethan said quietly. Serenia looked at him, her blue eyes glowing softly. "Freedom often begins where exile starts." He smiled faintly. "Then I guess we're finally free." She nodded. "Free and hunted." As they boarded her ship and left the capital behind, the city faded into darkness. For the first time, Serenia felt light, not from power, but from choice. And beside her, Ethan smiled at the stars. They had defied an empire, and somehow, it felt like the beginning of something greater. The stars stretched endlessly across the blackness as Serenia's ship drifted beyond the reach of the Empire. The hum of the engines was soft, steady, almost like a heartbeat. Inside, the once noble widow and the freed human sat in silence, both staring out the window at a horizon that no longer had a home behind it. Ethan leaned back in the pilot's chair, looking at the galaxy maps flickering before him. "So," he said with a half-smile, "where does an exiled alien widow go when every planet wants her gone?" Serenia sat beside him, her silver skin catching the dim light. "To where no one else dares to go," she said calmly. "The frontier moons. There, no council rules, only survival." He chuckled softly. "Sounds like Earth before the wars." She glanced at him. "Your people always find a way to build something from nothing." "Perhaps that's what I need to learn," Ethan grinned. "You learn from me? You're the most powerful person I've ever met." Serenia's expression softened. "Power is not the same as peace, Ethan. You gave me the first real piece of peace I've felt in years." Her words hung between them. The silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was warm, gentle, and full of meaning. Days turned into weeks. They traveled far from the shining cities, crossing abandoned star routes and sleeping in the quiet between worlds. Eventually they found it, an untouched moon circling a dying sun. Its surface was green and alive, glowing faintly under its soft red sky. When the ship landed, Ethan stepped out first. The air was light and warm, full of strange scents. He knelt and touched the soil. "It's soft," he said quietly. "Feels like home." Serenia followed, her boots sinking into the grass. "Then this will be our home," she said. They spent days building a shelter from the ship's wrecked panels. Ethan designed it with human practicality, Serenia with alien grace. Together they made something simple but beautiful, a home that looked half Earth, half Varen. At night they sat outside under twin moons, watching the stars move slowly across the red sky. Ethan had found old seeds among his supplies, earth seeds. He planted them near a stream that shimmered like liquid glass. Serenia knelt beside him, helping cover them with soil. "What will they become?" She asked. "Flowers," he said. "From Earth. They need light, water, and a bit of care. Kind of like people." Serenia smiled faintly. "Then they'll grow well here." Weeks passed. The house filled with laughter, small inventions, and quiet peace. Ethan built tools and even a small generator. Serenia, skilled with alien crystals, shaped them into glowing lights that floated like fireflies. Sometimes she still woke from nightmares, memories of the war, of the council, of her husband's death. But each time she'd open her eyes and see Ethan beside her, sleeping lightly, and the fear would fade. One evening as they watched the flowers bloom, she spoke softly. "You humans have strange hearts, Ethan." He turned to her. "How so?" "You lose everything," she said. "Homes, families, even worlds. Yet you still find a reason to smile." He looked at the stars. "Maybe because we've learned that love is stronger than loss. That's what keeps us human." Serenia was quiet for a moment. Then she whispered, "And what keeps me alive now is you." Ethan turned toward her. The fading sunlight made her skin glow like molten silver. For the first time, she didn't look like a widow or a noble, just a woman, tired and kind. He took her hand. "You gave me back my freedom," he said softly. "But you also gave me something I didn't know I'd lost, belonging." Her fingers tightened around his. "Then perhaps we saved each other." Seasons changed on the small moon. The flowers grew tall, their petals shining blue under the night sky. Serenia tended them every morning while Ethan worked on building a signal tower, though he never turned it on. He didn't want the Empire to find them. Not yet. One night, as they sat together by the stream, Serenia said, "When the council exiled me, I thought it was punishment. But now, I think it was mercy. They freed me from a world that forgot what it meant to feel." Ethan smiled. Maybe that's the universe's way of saying we were meant to find each other. She leaned her head against his shoulder. "Perhaps. You humans always believe in destiny. Only when it finds us," he said. She laughed softly. It was a sound Ethan had never heard before, light, pure, and full of life. Years later, travelers passing through the frontier spoke of a glowing moon, where an alien woman and a human man lived together in peace. They said strange earth flowers grew there, and that a soft melody drifted from a little house each night. A melody from a broken music box, repaired long ago by human hands. When asked about them, no one could say for sure if they were lovers, or simply two souls who refused to let the universe tell them who to be. But one thing was certain. On that quiet world, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, as if honoring the widow and the earthman who dared to love beyond species, beyond fear, beyond the laws of galaxies. And when the wind passed through the flowers, it carried their story like a whisper. Love is not of one world. It belongs to all.